Welcome to the Power of Care podcast with host Brianna Dance. On this show, we will take an in-depth look into personal and professional resilience on several different levels. This is a space for people who are trying to navigate the ups and downs of life successfully. Be sure to follow on Instagram at Power of Care Podcast and on YouTube at Power of Care_.
All right, everybody. So welcome to the Power of Care podcast, y'all. Today, I have an amazing guest who I've known for a while. He's another Hamptonian in the house. His name is Brandon Starks. He is the founder and CEO of the People's Market, which is basically a subscription-based food delivery service that sources from local farms in DC and in Maryland. Hey, Brandon.
What's going on, Brianna? It's been too long.
It's been too long. I feel like I've seen you. Long. It's been online. I've seen you moving and shaking.
I know. Same here. I've definitely been watching from a distance.
We were talking before we got started, and I just loved what I saw online from you. I'm like, Brandon is out here really doing stuff, and it's local. And if anybody knows me, I go hard for PG County. So I'm a native. I believe you're a native as well.
I am.
And so tell me a little bit about your family. Like, what made you want to go into this type of service industry where you're like helping families be healthy and you're delivering food and you're making connections with Black entrepreneurs in the area? What made you want to do this?
Honestly, I feel like it's always sort of like been inside of me. I just didn't really know how to activate it. And I think the pandemic just allowed me to activate it. Obviously, during the pandemic, there was great loss of life. A lot of people impacted socially, psychologically, physically. Like it was a really sad time. But I actually had some time to sort of like meditate and pray about, what is it that I'm doing on this earth? Like what value am I bringing? And I've always been in the community, so I've always worked in government, kind of like in a community organizing sort of capacity. So I always figured out how to like create positions for myself if there was no position, to go out into community and serve specifically Black folks, brown folks who are like lower socioeconomic, or even folks who are middle class, upper middle class, right? Like I really love serving my community, and just like helping people solve problems. So, it's the middle of the pandemic. I'm trying to figure out how to feed my family, because the CDC is saying, you gotta, stay 6 feet away from people. It feels like 10 years ago. Like there was this criteria, and it was like you gotta stay 6 feet away from people. You gotta keep people to only select people in your bubble. Like there was all this criteria. You have to wear a mask. You have to wash your hands, for 25 seconds. Like there was all this criteria, and I'm a root of the problem type of person. Like I don't want to just like put on the bandage, because I'm like, you put on the bandage, the problem keeps coming. Again, I've worked in government and nonprofit, and we do a lot of Band-Aid work. And I'm always looking around like, y'all really think this gonna work? Y'all think we gonna solve this problem like this? This is nothing. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're just gonna keep doing this over and over. So for me, I was like, well, what am I eating? Like, how am I taking care of myself? How's my family eating? What can we do to protect ourselves against this fungus, this virus? Like what can we do? And food instantly just was like that's what popped up in my head. I had just moved to a new neighborhood. Thankfully, I lived in an apartment. It was tight, and literally a month before the pandemic, me and Chaka bought our first house, and we moved to a new neighborhood. It's a Black and brown neighborhood because I love being around my people, and the grocery stores just weren't cutting it for me. I was like, Aldi produce, you not doing it. Giant, you not doing it. I was like, I really need like high quality stuff. I want to make sure that my family is getting like nutrient dense food. And I started going to farmers markets. And when I went, I would have to travel. I'm like at the top of Silver Spring now, in a neighborhood called Aspen Hill. I have to travel all the way to downtown Silver Spring. Georgia Avenue is super congested. It's just a lot. I gotta get my bags, put them in the car. Then I gotta go all the way to downtown Silver Spring, do my shopping, put my bags back in my car, drive to my house, take the bags. Like I'm thinking about these steps as I go. I'm thinking about all of these things that people like us we have to do on a consistent basis in order to live a high quality or just normal lifestyle. Like we have to work 2 or 3 times as hard to have the same type of quality of lifestyle as other folks. And I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. Like there's gotta be something easier. And I was thinking, okay, I can't just open a grocery store tomorrow. I don't want to do that either. I don't want to become a grocery store owner. I thought about opening maybe like a corner store in the neighborhood and making it like, I sell like fresh produce and some other things. It'd be kind of like a new little business model. I was like, yeah, I don't know that I want to get into the corner store business either. Just for the sake of my quality of life, I'm like, I can't be working from like, 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. every day, doing this stuff. So I thought about e-commerce, and I was like, what if I work with local farms? I kind of really took on the CSA model. It's the community supported agriculture model, which is a model that's been around for decades now, where farmers figured out how to support themselves by asking customers to almost like, it's like pay in advance, like prepay for the produce. And then the farmer goes and gets their equipment. They pay their staff, or their laborers. They get seeds, they get everything that they need, and they figure out how to plan the crop so that they make money, right? Mm-hmm. Give the customer what they need, and then they kind of do it on a loop. They do it the same thing every year. Wow. And I like that model, but I also knew that, someone paying $400 or $500 up front for produce is a lot, especially for Black folks. I mean, for me, I'm like, I don't know, that's kind of cost prohibitive. For me, I ain't got it, right? Yeah. So I kind of like looked at the CSA model, and I looked at like the Netflix model, right? I'm like, what if people could pay based on the service? So if they don't want the service anymore, they just delete it, and their card doesn't get, charged. But if they keep the service every month, their card will be automatically charged. I can kind of project and see what's coming in and what's going out. And then I can plan accordingly to make sure that my books are even. So for me, a big part was I wanted to make sure that I ran a business model where I wasn't spending more than I was bringing in to run this business. I wanted it to be super lean, and I wanted to figure out how to have no waste, or as much waste, not having waste as possible, right. And give the customer a high quality product. So those were like my goals. So yeah, I just I said, okay, and the name came from Ida B. Wells, a friend of hers. So Ida B. Wells, who really made her career as a journalist, documenting lynchings in the South. Mm-hmm. So Ida B. Wells was a school teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, and in the town that she was in Memphis, she had, friends, family, all that. So she had a friend who owned a grocery store called the People's Grocery. It was a group of Black men who owned this store, and the store did really well. This is like right during like the Reconstruction era. So this is like, we've been freed. Black folks are building towns and making money and kind of, doing our own thing. Like, hey, we can do these things by ourselves. Like, if we don't have somebody whipping us or lashing us, sorry, my camera's like doing something weird. If people ain't, whipping up us and lashing us and putting us in chains, we can do some things, right? So these brothers came together, pulled their money together, created this grocery store for the community, where Black folks and white folks alike in this town came to this grocery store. And it was very popular. And some of the white shop owners in the area got jealous. Of course. And made up a lie about a white woman being accosted in this grocery store. What? And the Black men who owned the store, there was like some young brothers in there. The white men said, well, somebody told us that it was somebody in here who, had, accosted a white woman. So we want whoever did it. And the brothers in there pulled out their guns and was like, not today. You know what I'm saying? So the white shop owners went to the police, and cause that's their homies, you know what I'm saying? They just wearing a badge. They went to the police, and the police came in and grabbed the owners and brought them to jail. And a white mob came into that jail, dragged those men out of that cell, and lynched them.
Oh,
And yeah, and the People's Market no longer exists. I mean, the People's Grocery no longer existed.
wow.
So for me, I heard that story and I was like, what could that grocery store, what could have been if that grocery store was around
Still
today?
there, yeah.
If it was still here, how many People's Groceries would be on every corner in America, Detroit, Prince George's County, DC,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Not just in Memphis, Tennessee, but all around the country. And then I think about these, big box stores that we talk about today, the Whole Foods, the Kroger's, the right, they have historic money. They have historic,
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure. They're an institution, and a lot of our institutions were taken. So for me, I took that name on because I'm like, I'm going to carry the baton. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to feed our people. Let's give them the best quality. People going to love us. You know what I'm saying? No matter their race,
Yeah.
gender, whatever, people going to love us because we're going to bring a good product and we're going to bring good energy and good love. So it all kind of came together. God was just speaking to me
He
as
was
I was sitting
doing
in my
it.
house, minding my business, uh, keeping my distance from people. And
Right.
I really heard God speak to me in that way. So I just started. I found some farmers, and it's kind of just been that's we've been doing it ever
Just
since.
taking off.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this started with a lack. You were looking for quality. You said there were grocery stores, but they didn't have quality food. And you were thinking about
Yeah.
your family. How can we,
Yep.
I mean, this is like a public health issue. And you're like, okay, let me at least start with mine.
Yep. Yeah.
So let's go back because you went to Hampton University.
Yeah.
Did you study business, or is this just kind of like innately in you, or your parents, or like who kind of like shaped you to be this community organizer that you are today?
I think so. Yeah, I went to Hampton. I grew up in Bowie. Um, Number one, the community that I grew up in was like just like the best place to grow up, right? Like
Hmm.
we rode our bikes everywhere. It was safe.
Uh
We
huh.
all knew each other. If somebody got into a fight, it was nothing. It was like
Hmm.
after you fought, you like, all right, man, you won that.
We
All right,
good,
I'll see
right?
you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
wasn't no beef. It was
Yeah.
all love in the community that I grew up in. So I just grew up in a very loving, beautiful community. And honestly, I was also raised. My mother raised me by herself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and my mother just raised. She really loved on me, right? She
Mm.
really gave me like my mother always believed in me. Like I could see it in her eyes where she was just like, "You can do anything,"
I
and
love
I
that.
believed it. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
was like, "I
Of course
can
I
do
can.
anything,"
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really feel like it starts at home. So like
Yeah.
I had that love and that energy from the moment I, you know, landed on this side of the universe, right?
Hmm.
Um, so, I think for me, just to fast forward a little bit, I think going to Hampton just really exposed me to the diversity within our community,
Yeah.
right? Like you got black folks from all walks of life, all sort of economic status, and
Hmm.
folks. I just remember meeting folks who were like, I grew up in Korea. I'm like, you black? You grew up in
Right.
South Korea? Like what? I grew up in Alabama, and my parents are entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
And they driving like BMWs. I'm like, I didn't know black folks in Alabama had money like this. Like
Right.
like who been lying to me? You know what I'm saying? I thought I grew up in the wealthiest black county in the country. Like I thought we was
Right.
doing it. And I met people without. I met a lot of people who were like, I'm a figure out how to get it. I'm a
Yeah.
figure out how to take care of my family. So I think like just getting to Hampton, um, I was just exposed to a lot of different black folks, and it made me very proud to be black. It made me very proud to be who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and I just wanted to number one, Barack Obama. That was the first person I ever voted for. That was the
I'm
first president
so
I ever voted
jealous.
for. Yeah,
And
that
he
was
was
2000.
he your commencement speaker?
He was our commencement speaker. So
Uh
like I was drinking Obama Kool-Aid. Like I
yeah.
wanted to be like Barack Obama, man. Like that dude couldn't do no wrong in my
Yeah.
eyes, right? So when he was running, I had a professor. I had this poli-sci professor. I was a psychology major actually undergrad.
Oh wow.
I had a poli-sci professor who was really like integral in the Hampton Roads area and was connected to a lot of politicians, people who were like doing like community organizing and stuff like that. He's like, hey, there's this guy, a buddy of mine who's running for school board. I'll give you guys extra credit if you volunteer with him. And all we had to do was go out, wear the guy's shirt, knock on doors. He, at the beginning, told us his spiel and like what he did. And like when I was knocking on doors and talking to people and engaging with them, I was like really connecting with people, like listening to people, understanding more of like what it's like to grow up in Hampton Roads, what it's like to be, you know, in their school system, what it's like, you know, to just grow up in that community and some of the things that they appreciated and some of the things they lacked. And I just love listening to people's stories.
Yeah.
And I remember that just like hitting me like it got in my blood. And I was like, okay, I need to do this. So after I graduated, there was this guy who I worked for who ran a nonprofit, education nonprofit. I worked for him during the summers, and I had no job right then. I graduated in 2010 for context, and the economy just sucked at that moment. Like the housing bubble had just happened. There was a huge economic downturn. Like stock market had crashed. Like nobody was hiring. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like me or none of my friends were hiring. We were college degreed working at Starbucks. Like that was just our reality.
Yeah.
And I was driving up Georgia Avenue, going, I don't know where the heck I was going. I was going somewhere. Driving up Georgia Avenue, and this guy who I used to work for, I seen his sign right by Howard University. And it said that he was running for Ward 1 council member. And I was like, I'm going to call him. And I called him up, and I was like, yo, Jeff, I just saw your sign. I'm like, do you need people to work for you? He's like, oh, Brandon, what's up, man? Yeah, absolutely. So I went to his office. We met. And I was like, bruh, like, whatever you can pay me, I really just need to get my feet wet. I really just need to start working. Like, I really want to start to learn. And I really want to start to just, like, build my skill set, like, doing outreach and campaigning and, you know, organizing. And he was like, I pay you $200 a week. I was like,
were you happy? Were you upset? Were you?
I mean, at the moment, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have any other options. A week. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was enough for lunch and gas.
Right.
And me, I was dating Chaka at the time. I couldn't take her out.
Y'all needed free dates.
We wasn't going nowhere. Like, it was like, we was going to the park and we was sharing a cup of coffee like a mug. Like, we wasn't doing nothing special. But I took it because I was like, I can really learn.
Yeah.
I can really like get my feet wet. And I just did like data collection for him, was knocking on doors, and eventually, I kind of grew in the campaign. And he was like, yo, like, I got these volunteers coming. I don't have anybody to manage them. Can you like lead the team? And I was like, with the clipboard, like, all right, y'all, we're going to hit these blocks. Yes. I got people we need to, you know what I'm saying? Like really like managing, strategic, you know what I'm saying? Like people coming to me like, oh, these last couple houses, they don't really seem like they're interested. I'm like, keep knocking, bro. Keep knocking. Like this is our strategy. Let's stick to our goal. So I was talking to, at the time it was Adrian Fenty running for office and Vincent Gray running for office. So I got in touch with both of their teams and I said, look, I really don't care who wins, right, y'all? But I'm going to put people on your van. These are my people. I already know they're going to support my candidate. But when they hop on your van, whatever you do, you talk to them, you tell them that's on you. Just make sure they get there. Right. That's my only request of you. Make sure they get there and make sure they get back. So we did that for a while. And they started to call me like, you got some voters? And I was like, I got some voters.
Plug. You were the plug.
I was the plug. I would pull up to the senior buildings and this, but I'm like, hey, Miss Johnson, come on, we're your friends. Yes, how you doing? Like, I was working it. I was out here working it. Wow. Come on, Miss Johnson. Yes, it's me, Brandon. That's right. What's up? So, did that for a while. My candidate ended up losing. Unfortunately, it happens. You win some, you lose some.
Politics.
But when it was all said and done, the candidate that won, Vincent Gray at the time, he was like, his people was like, come here. And I was like, what's up? They was like, you do some good work. Let's talk. And that really is what got me into. So I ended up working for Vincent Gray
Wow.
for about 3 years. And I
Mm.
started out in a community organizing sort of capacity. Just I had a district where if residents had any issues, I would work with the police department, the fire department, public works, whoever to solve those problems. I was like their intermediary. You know what I'm saying? And I did that. I was 23, 22, 23.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And it was so fun. It was a lot of fun. So like I tell that story to say like for me, um, I wanted to get into the community. I was going to connect with my people and start solving problems for them by any means. I just knew that I
Mm.
wanted to make my people's quality of life better, right?
Yeah.
So with the business, working in government, working in nonprofit, I've been doing this
You've been
work.
doing this.
I've been doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I started to learn as I was in government is that government can only do but so much, right?
Yeah.
There's different power levers and there's different sectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within, you got the business community, you got nonprofit, you got government, you got, these different communities or these different organizations or institutions, and they all can do things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but what I started to learn was the business community really had a lot of power and influence over people's quality of life.
Mm.
Because I started to notice that even some of those business owners and the CEOs and the folks who ran the corporations, they would give money, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would provide services, and then at the same time, they would donate to the candidates. So I was working for people who had these corporations in their ear,
Mm-hmm.
basically, almost steering policy in some. And you don't think about it like that,
That's true.
but it happens. I've seen it. I saw who certain politicians took meetings with and who they didn't take meetings with. Like
Right.
some politicians will take meetings with community members.
Mm-hmm.
Some will, right? All take meetings with business owners. All take meetings with
Mm.
corporation folks who run, you know, multi, you know, uh, multi-million dollar corporations and billion
Right.
dollar corporations. Like they take that call.
Right.
And I was like, now what if I can do both? What if I can provide a good service for my community
Mm-hmm.
and also have influence, right,
Mm-hmm.
to steer policy, right, and
Wow.
help my folks live a better quality of life. So, and I think in a lot of black communities, that's the missing link is
Mm.
that we put people in office, but the businesses that surround our community are not run by us.
That's true.
So we're giving all of our money to folks who are non-black
Mm-hmm.
or not Latino or not, you know what I'm
Or
saying?
don't even live where we.
Or don't even live where we live.
Yeah.
And yet we don't understand that those are the people who the politician is going to take the meeting with him or her.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes down to election cycles, that next election cycle, when who's writing that check. We not writing the check.
Mm-hmm.
We 9 times out of 10, we not writing the check.
Right.
So they looking at the people. They like, I need to fundraise. I need to raise 3 million to win this campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get out here and talk to these folks. And please believe when you start talking to people, they say, and this is what I need you to do.
Right.
It's just what it is. It's the game, right?
Right.
So I think my experience, my knowledge, wanting to serve my community, but also understanding the realities of this capitalist society that we live in.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I navigate this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that one day, more folks like me, I see there's more entrepreneurs who look like me popping up in different spaces and wanting to have a positive impact in the community, not just wanting to extract resources from the community,
Mm-hmm.
but have this sort of circular economic model where it's like, okay, you're my customer, but I'm also going to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to make sure that people in this community have a voice, right? Who's
Right.
saying, hey, I've been talking to my people and this is what they
This is
asking
what they're
for. You're
saying.
not you're
Yeah.
not really you're not really doing that, man. You're not,
Right.
or ma'am, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not providing that service. So I think it honestly, my mom she's a very technical mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she's just she's strong willed and she's a problem solver. My dad is just a very charismatic person
Mm-hmm.
who he was in sales and he
Mm.
could sell anything to anybody and tell a good story and you know what I'm saying and keep people engaged. And I think kind of the two sort of brains and spirits kind of put together is what has
And here comes
morphed into
Brandon.
me.
Okay. So
So
you're a
that's kind of
beautiful
what it
blend.
is. That's what
Wow.
it is. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So that's I know I answered your we're having a conversation, but I know I
Yeah.
answered that in a very roundabout way. But like that's kind of how I conceptualize how I got here,
Yeah.
and why this. It's just about solving a problem. That's it.
Yeah. And so your mom has always poured into you. You had a loving environment. You have
Yes.
parts of both of your parents. And
Yes.
also your experiences. You had a professor that was like, hey, do
Mhm.
this. And then you had that volunteer
Mhm.
experience. And then, I mean, you were always willing to work. So where did
That's
this
what I'm gonna
work
do.
ethic come from? Like, I know you're probably tired now. Like, where did this work ethic come from, or this drive? Is it just like natural, or you're a problem solver, you said? So,
My mom is a hard worker. I don't know that my
okay.
dad's so much of a hard worker as my mom is. I think he kind of
Yeah.
just would pass on his good looks and charm, right? He wants to work the
As
least
least as
amount of time as
possible.
possible. My mother is just a hard worker. You know,
Mm,
she unfortunately, you know, lost both of her parents when she was 16,
wow.
and had to navigate life without them. And I think it woke her up and it was
Hmm.
like, okay, I got to get it. I
Mm,
got to figure this out. So she put herself through college.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? After she graduated college, she got into a career in phlebotomy and
Hmm.
microbiology,
Wow.
and was the youngest, like they call them medical technologists at the National Institute of Health (NIH). She was like the youngest to ever run a lab at NIH, and a black woman at that in the '90s.
Period.
So it was kind of crazy watching her because normally, I mean, I guess for the black community, we're kind of used to our women having to carry that burden and
Hmm.
having to like do all the work and kind of be like superheroes, like
Right.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, and I just think that she just always showed me you can get it, but you got to put in the work. Don't
Mm,
sleep. Pay attention. Analyze. Watch people. Listen to what people are. Listen and pay attention to how people treat you.
hmm.
Listen and pay attention to what people say, right? And also like watch trends and watch patterns. She's very good at. She's a good judge of character, and she's just a
Hmm.
good judge of like situations.
Mm,
And I think she used all her grit, her hard work, her just like interpersonal skills, and just being able to navigate. All
hmm.
those things came together,
Mm,
and it just allowed her to be a force. And
wow.
I think it's hard for me to not be a hard worker and not be a force if I'm looking at this woman who's doing it by herself,
Right.
and all of my needs are being met, and she's also not like, you know, angry at the world or anything. She
Right.
walked through the world with joy and
Mm,
love and had a strong relationship with God and Christ. Like she was, and still is because she's still alive, is a great example, right, for me. So like just watching my mom, I'm like, yo, like she used to tell me, I'm always the first person in my office. I'm always the last to leave.
mm,
And she didn't have to do that.
right.
But she made it her business to make sure that she came in the morning and turned them lights on, and you know when people were there, made sure that whatever they needed she had. I
Mm,
also saw this. My mother was in a position of power, but she was also in a position of service. And
mm,
I've learned that when you're a leader, you are actually the highest form of servant. And if you don't serve, you'll pay the price. And she was a servant to the people that worked for her. She was a counselor and a friend, and you know what I'm saying, and a
yeah.
sounding board and all of that type stuff.
Wow.
And you know, I just think, yeah, I get it from her
Yeah.
straight up. Like there's no other. I think, yeah, I can't point to nothing else. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
priceless. And
Yep.
the term that came out, which is a mantra that Hampton goes by, is standard of excellence. It sounds like your
There it
mom
is.
and you, it's like it's all about quality. Like that's the standard. We're going to perform well. We're going to take care of people. We're going to put the work in.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna work hard. We're gonna
Yeah.
treat people well. We're gonna show them love when they walk into. At the end of the day, the people that work with me,
Mm-hmm.
when they walk into the warehouse and they walk into my space, it's love all the time. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to show up in a space and people treat you like anything. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think it's my job to set the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm treating my drivers with love and care, I know that they have no other choice but to step out of that door. And when they're delivering to a customer, they're going to treat
Do the
they're going to
same.
treat that customer with the same love. It's just going to transfer energy. So
Yes.
for me, like doing those things and being of service to them only increases our quality, only increases our name. And people are like, oh, wow, like y'all are also, you have people who care,
Mm.
who knock on the door and make sure that the bag is in the right place. So
Yes.
when you open your screen door, you don't gotta
It's
knock the
not
bag over
squished.
to get
Your
to it.
egg's not
It's not
broken.
squished.
Right.
None of that. None of none of that. And I
Yeah.
told the drivers when I train them, I'm like, look, let me show y'all how this works. This is just
Yes.
straight math. A door comes out like this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever put a bag behind that door.
No.
Make sure that if you were to be that customer and you open that door, that it's so easy for you to grab that bag or whatever that package is and smile at people and wave at them. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Show them some love. Tell them thank you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because people don't have to do this.
They don't.
They choose to do this and y'all get paid as a result. So like
Right.
we all are benefiting
Yeah.
from this transfer of love and transfer of energy. And I can only go back to my mother and she
Mm-hmm.
gave that to me. So like I think, as an entrepreneur now, I think what I'm learning is that I was born to do this because I was given the skills. I was given, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was given all of the essentials and all the tools to be able to see this thing through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just I don't think it's something you can necessarily learn. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're born to do certain things or you just
Yeah.
not.
It's a
You
gift.
can
Like
get better at things. It's a
yeah.
gift though.
Mm-hmm. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
Brandon. Thank you so much for just sharing about your family and what's kind of shaped you as an entrepreneur, as a man, as a family man, just even as a leader in our community. And I want to say congrats to you for winning. Let me see this award you got. Washington City Paper. You guys won Best of DC 2023, right?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Yo, like I used to read the Washington City paper every day and I
Uh-huh.
remember when the best of section used to come out.
Yeah.
And I would always look like, man, that's dope. Like you the best restaurant, you the best cheesesteak place, you the best hot dog stand. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it was such like a prize to win that.
Hmm.
And when they reached out to me, I was just like, wow, like
Wow.
thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because again, we've only been doing this for a short period of time, but I think people are noticing the impact that we have in the quality of service and also just the care that we put behind the work that we do. So yeah, it was a blessing to
Yeah.
get that award for sure.
So this show is all about resilience, right? So for
Mm.
both personally and professionally. So can
Mhm.
you think
Mhm.
of a time that you're comfortable sharing
Mhm.
where you didn't see it as a positive thing, but in hindsight, you were like, okay, this shaped me. This really helped me. I was resilient. I was able to work through this thing, or this
Yeah.
problem. What comes to mind?
Again, I told you I'm a Barack Obama. I was a Barack Obama fanboy. That
Yes.
was my man. I just wanted like you could have just put a suit on me and just taught me how to talk like Obama. I would have just been him. Like that. That's
Right.
how crazy it was, right? Um. So after Hampton and after working in government for a couple of years, I was like, yo, I'm gonna go to law school.
Hmm.
And I just knew that that was my trajectory. I was like, I'm gonna go to law school and be a civil rights attorney. Like, I'm gonna help my community. I'm just gonna like do this great work. And I got accepted into law school. I took the LSAT like 3 or 4 times because I'm just terrible at taking tests. I like again gifts, testing, school wasn't ever really a gift for me. It was always a challenge. So I got into law school. I went to North Carolina Central Law, and man, it was a struggle. Oh my
Oh,
God.
like you
Like
actually got to the school.
I got into school. Like I went.
You went.
I got admitted. Like I was in that joint. I was in the class of 2016, like class of
Wow.
2015, 2016. Well, I was accepted in the 2015, 2016 year.
Yeah.
And I struggled. When I tell you, I moved me and Chaka because at the time, I've been married since I was 23. I know you know that, but for your listeners, I've been married since I was 23. And I brought my wife with me to North Carolina. She had to get a new job. We had to find a place to live. We had to save money. Like it was a lot of sacrifices that went into this. And I really believe that this was my future. So I get to law school. As soon as I get there, I'm like, yo, this is serious. I don't know, bro. Like at the gate,
No.
I was just like, this is a hope and a prayer like a mug, but this is not. This is like this. It just wasn't coming natural for me. It really felt like the best way to explain it is almost like trying to put like a square peg through like a circle hole. It just wasn't like it was like it wasn't fitting.
Yeah.
But I just want I saw it in my head. In my head, it wasn't God's plan for me, obviously. In my head, that's what I saw. So I struggled through my first year. I mean, you had to get a certain grade point average to stay. And I remember my first semester just getting above that threshold. And I remember I had classmates who didn't make it. And I was just like so sad for them. I was like, this is really sad. Like these people spent money, time, energy, and this is tough. And I felt bad for them because I was struggling. And I just got I can't even remember how I just made it, but it was like I think it was like one class that I ended up getting a really high score on that exam, and it just like it kind of got me across the finish line for that first semester. The second semester, I'm like, all right, I gotta meet this threshold again. And I just didn't meet it. I remember taking my finals, and I remember saying to myself, I don't know. I wasn't confident. And again, my mama raised me to be confident. Like when I know something, I'm like, I know it. It's like can't nobody tell me nothing, right? I was like, I don't know. And I remember getting my grades back, and I was like a quarter of a point away from like crossing that threshold, right? I think I needed like a 2.5. I was like at like a 2.39 or something. It was crazy how close I was to crossing that threshold. And I remember going to all my professors, using my dad's charm to try to like, hey, give me some extra credit, bro. I'm down here with my wife, bro. It's not just me. Right. You gonna send a black man back home? I done invested money, time, energy. I can't go back to Maryland and tell my family this.
Right.
And I remember one of the brothers was like, I remember one of my professors, my property professor. I can't remember his name, but I remember this moment, and I see his face. And I remember he was just like, maybe this ain't for you, bruh. And I was like, nah, I ain't accepting that. Because again, my energy is, I'm going to get it.
Oh, no.
I'm going to get it. So I stuck around, and I remember I was like, I'm gonna try to readmit myself, basically. I'm gonna stay. My Chaka was like, bruh, like you killing me right now, bro. I'm ready to go back to Maryland. Right. This is real. Like I don't wanna be here no more, bro. School is over. But I got these plans. I'm gonna go through the process. I'm petitioning and I'm gonna readmit myself. Just craziness. I remember I got a job at a little chicken and waffle joint in downtown Durham. Dame's Chicken and Waffles.
Oh, Dames. Okay.
Yeah, I got a job there, and it's a popular spot.
Uh-huh.
And I remember being in there, and some of my classmates, when school started back, I remember some of my classmates coming in there and just whispering about me. Like I could see them, and they was just like, "Yeah, that's him." Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, "Wow!" It kind of hit me. I felt super embarrassed, right? I felt super embarrassed. So I was like, "Yo, I couldn't do this thing. I couldn't figure this thing out. You know, there's something wrong with me, right?" Um, Eventually, I prayed about it. I was sad, man. I was depressed. Like I was really feeling it. I prayed about it. I talked to Chaka. I was like, I know you're ready to go, but like, give me some time. I'm not ready yet, but let me pray about it. Like, let me just get myself together. So I was working at Dames, you know what I'm saying, bringing in a little money so that we could pay our bills and do whatever we got to do. You know, I used to go for runs just to kind of clear my mind. And I remember one day just being like, I remember God's wishes being like, just go back home, bro. It's time to go back home. And I was like, you know, God, I don't go back home. I don't do that. When I start something, I finish it. I don't stop. Just go back home. And I remember coming back home and everything being okay. You know what I'm saying? Everything being okay. And got a job working in government, doing like, again, community development work in Prince George's County, which I ended up loving. I loved it.
Oh, wow.
It was great work. And I think the resilience was, you know, I think I just had to figure out how to step into like what was meant for me. And I think I think for me, it was hard for me to let go of this idea that maybe I wasn't smart enough.
Did it feel like a failure to you? Like you failed?
It felt like a huge failure.
Yeah.
It felt like even coming home, like I had a going away party and everybody's wishing me well and stuff. And a year and a half later, here I am. I'm right back at home. You know, but what it caused me to do was really focus my energy and my attention on my strengths. And it's not that I don't try to foster or improve my weaknesses, because I do, right? And I think law school, that whole idea of like studying nonstop, reading like all of these case studies, taking tests, memorizing stuff, it's not really my strong suit. It's just not, right? Like I was kind of going against the grain. And I think even the fact that I got through that first semester kind of showed how hard my grind is, because even when something doesn't come natural to me, I'm trying to find a way to figure it. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out because I need to show myself that this thing is possible. But I think coming back home really taught me, like, you need to do the thing that you do well and put all of your energy into that thing. Put all of your focus in. Put your whole heart, spirit, soul, creativity, wisdom, not put it all into that thing and just like grow it and just build it.
Yeah.
Until it's just like larger than life. And that's what I did when I got home. I did a lot of great work in Prince George's. I'd never worked in the county before, so that was also nice to be back home serving my people. I didn't grow up in DC. DC was a new city. It was a new place for me.
Right.
It's a different culture. It's just a different lifestyle. So like DC groomed me, but when it was time, I got to bring that talent to Prince George's and really add a lot of value to my people. And I thank God for that failure, because if it had not been for that, I wouldn't even be doing this work, because I know that I would have felt like, I got this expensive degree, I got to put it to work.
You would have kept going. You would have kept pushing.
I would have kept pushing through my entire life.
Wow.
And I know that God knows us so well, and God is like, you don't got no business being over there, because you don't know. You just go hard. You don't know how to steer. You don't know how to multitask and pivot. You're just like, this is what I do, and I'm gonna go hard, right? Like, so it was a blessing. It's one of the biggest blessings that I've ever experienced in my life. But it felt like hell when it was going on.
Yeah.
I felt crazy. I was like, why would I get into this place?
Yeah.
And putting all these hours studying for the LSAT and like just all this for what? Why? And I think even now, as an entrepreneur, some of the work that I do, I don't love some parts of it, but I got to sit down and look at my finances. I got to sit down and analyze, you know what I'm saying, the work that I'm doing so that I can get better.
Yeah.
So I can employ more people and feed more people and, you know, grow my business. Some of that, like, technical, tactical work, law school taught me that.
Yeah.
You know what
Isn't
I'm
that funny
saying? Like,
how
I
nothing
learned
goes to
that.
waste? Like
Nothing
nothing
goes to
goes
waste.
to waste. God will
Nothing
use it all.
ever. I'm trying to tell you.
Woo! That's a
That's a
word for
word. That's
somebody.
a
Like,
word. That's a
listen,
word.
Brandy, you on here preaching. Okay.
That's a word. It don't nothing go to waste. Everything is going. If you're in alignment with the Creator, I believe that nothing ever goes to waste. I know that the experiences that my parents had have taught them lessons and me lessons, and I'm gonna be able to teach my son certain things because of the trauma and pain that we've experienced through our lives, right? Those things teach us things. They're valuable lessons, and if you lean into it and you get a piece of it, you can utilize it and really change some lives
Yeah.
and like change things for a lot of people
For a
if you
lot.
lean into it. If you gotta really lean into it though. You gotta accept it. It took me a while to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a proud person. You know what I'm saying? But once I did, I felt like, okay, I can hold my head up high. Like I know that I did that thing and I didn't complete it, not even knowing that this was gonna happen with this entrepreneurial journey. That was almost 10 years ago now.
Wow.
You know, that was 8 years ago. You feel me? Like I didn't know none of that. And now I'm doing what I'm doing, but I also kind of learned that like I can't externally I can't allow the external to impact my process. You feel me? I can't worry about what other people think about me and how other people view me and see me, because I could like God, even now, like I'm sure people like, you out here picking up
You doing what?
fruits and vegetables, fool? You out here picking up
People
fruits and
always
vegetables,
got something
dog?
to say. Always. Brandon, like as we close, like first of all, thank you for just being so vulnerable and being open and just helping the community, just teaching us through your failures that it all works out at the end eventually if you're aligned. And if you could leave somebody who is maybe kind of went through that tough season where, like you, when they were like pushing and pushing with law school, where they were like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna stay here. What would you share with that person who's very driven, but maybe need to pivot or maybe need to like kind of take a step back?
Mm, it's hard. It's hard to give that person advice because I just feel like, number one, I would just say like feel the pain. You know what I'm saying? Nobody enjoys the pain, but just like feel it. Just let it wash over you. You know what I'm saying? It's I I really do believe that like these emotions and these feelings that we have are purposeful,
Yeah.
right? If we serve a perfect God, then the things that we experience, good or bad, all have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like I had to allow myself to be depressed. I had to allow myself to feel the pain. I had to allow myself to feel confused, you know, unsure, so that I knew what that felt like. I had to know what that really felt like. Because then when you do get to a place in your life where you are sure, right? You know it. You know it because you've experienced what it's like to be lost. So when you found, you like, oh, I'm found,
Oh
bro.
yeah. I'm
I'm
found.
I'm in my bag. I know what it feels like to be lost. This ain't it,
This
right?
ain't it.
I know what it feels like to be out of place. You need to know what it feels like to be out of place sometimes so that you can find your place. Like you need to know what it's like to be pushed aside so that you know what it's like to be like pulled in. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't feel those like opposite, I don't know if this is a word, but like opposite emotions, like that pushing that and that pull, you're never really gonna have direction. Those are the things that help you to find who you are. So like I know that my journey is just getting started. Like I'm 35, but I also know I have so much more to learn. and I've already felt pain in my business. However, it doesn't feel impossible. It feels like, let me take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go for a walk. Let me grab some lunch. Let me call a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pray.
Yeah.
Let me take a nap. Right? It don't feel like. And then I know after that nap, after that walk, after that conversation with a friend, or that thing that I do to get my mind off of whatever that barrier is,
Mm-hmm.
there's a solution somewhere. I just need to open myself up to find it. But
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm in alignment, and that's why I feel I'm not like it's not like it's just not an
You're
impossible
not
task.
shaking too much because yeah,
No, I'm in alignment. So like
yeah.
you get things get shaky,
Mm-hmm.
but you got your seatbelt
Uh-oh.
on, you know
Come
what
on
I'm saying? You
now.
got your helmet on, you in that joint like,
You're
okay, this is
support.
what it's supposed to do. All right,
Well,
I got all
turbulence.
I got all my equipment on. I know exactly what to do in these situations because I'm in alignment. And
Mm.
I think I would say to that person, give yourself some time, years, seasons to to figure out what your purpose is. Have some quiet time because I think the pandemic forced me to be in a quiet place. If
Yes.
that time didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only thing that was going to force me to slow
Be
down,
still. Yeah, slow down.
be still, and listen. Right. So, like,
Mm.
also, I would say to that person, find some time to be still, silence the noise, spend some time by yourself, get outside, find joy, right? Like, find things that kind of distract you sometimes from the pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will find your purpose if you just give it time. Because our time is like, it hurt. I felt like it was forever. I felt like it's all over. My wife's gonna leave me because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a loser now, and I didn't do the thing that I said I was gonna do. Because again, I set my mind to something. I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out. But like, she was like, boy, if you don't stop feeling bad for
I love
yourself
Chaka.
and come over here and just like you gonna be all right. I know you're gonna be all right. Also, I
Mm.
would say surround yourself with love and good energy. Like I think my mom,
Yes.
again, I go back to my mother, my foundation from the beginning. She was like, don't surround yourself with people that don't love you like I love
Mm.
you. Do your best to surround, and you can't always control your environment, but like do your best to align yourself with people who give the same energy that you give them, right?
Mm.
And that reciprocity is also very important because you need people around you.
Yeah.
They're going to remind you who you are.
Yes.
They're going to remind you how how much value you have and what you mean to other people and what you mean just in general. And like, yeah, all those things have to be in place or else, yeah, you're going to be lost. You're going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
thank
just
you.
have
You
some, yeah,
listen.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was spoken like a clinician in here. Okay, y'all heard he's a psychology major, so he knows what he's
Not a clinician by any means necessary.
unofficial. But no,
Unofficial,
Brandon, thank
yeah.
you so much for that wisdom. I listen. I secretly be asking questions for myself because that last
Yeah.
piece was really encouraging for me because I am a go getter. If I get a vision, I'm gone. And God's like, hold
Mhm.
on, hold on, hold on. But it's good, and it's just good to have loving, motivating people around you. And I hear your mom, your wife, and like your friends, I'm sure, are those
Mhm.
people in your life. So
Mhm.
thank you,
Mhm.
Brandon. How can we
Thank you.
get connected to you, to the People's Market? How can we people get connected
Yeah.
and place orders?
Definitely check out our website. Our website is thepeoplesmarketdmv.com. That's how you can get access to our storefront, start a subscription, check out our products and different things that we sell. And then also on Instagram, we're really active. So at the People's Market DMV, at the People's Market DMV on Instagram. Yeah, just check us out. Just connect with us. Like if you got any questions, you could DM me there. That's me answering and responding to that because it's not a whole lot of people behind, that curtain. It's pretty much just me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on our website, if you have any questions or you want to contact us, there's information on there, like, like little question boxes where you can enter in information, ask questions. So you can contact me there again. But yeah. I mean, our goal. I'll just say this to you, Brianna, because this is just my reality. Like, I want to feed as many people as possible. We want to be national and global. That's the point of this, is that we want to scale this thing so that we can really provide people with the service that they deserve in their community. So, and also work with farmers. We work with a lot of Black farmers, Black small-owned businesses. So it's not just about me making money or this company making money in isolation. It's also about like spreading the wealth, kind of like the people's grocery. You know what I'm saying? You got the owners who are Black folks, a lot of the customers in the community who also, are Black as well. So for us, we really want to figure out how to like share the wealth, how to really give people high quality of life, but also get people paid, man. People need money. People got to eat. They got families to feed. So we want to be a part of that too. We want to kind of build that ecosystem out as we go. So
I love that. I love your mission. I'm so excited for where God is taking y'all. It's only up. So
appreciate you, sis. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll check in soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Power of Care podcast. If you'd like to hear more, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Power of Care Podcast. And be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at Power of Care _.